All right, here we are. John Robert Quinn, the guy who builds talk shows coast to coast, creator of JRQ TV, hanging out with Lamar Simpson and Sheepdog Defensive Training. Did I say it right?
You did.
Wow. You know, lately I've got so many shows, I can't remember anyone's name or how to pronounce it. It's really been bad.
Yep. No,
It's
I
really
did.
been
A lot
bad.
of irons in the fire, right?
It's just me and so many videos. So really going to touch on something that's kind of dear to my heart. At the same time, it's what you do. We're living in a scary time, a time where you could be sitting in your living room. Somebody said this. Let me kind of lead into this. Somebody said, well, people wouldn't have things happen to them if they weren't putting themselves in that situation. And a comment came in, yeah, well, you could be eating ice cream in your living room and all of a sudden you have a problem. And, when I was a kid, a close friend of mine, straight A student, parents were really, prosperous, I guess you can say. But somebody was stabbed down the street and he ran door to door until somebody had a front door unlocked, and then he ran into their house, into their living room, and locked the door to protect himself, bleeding all over their friggin' living room and their front, all of a sudden now their house is a crime scene.
Yep.
So what happens is we put ourselves out there, and we're walking our dog, or we're going to the grocery store, we're getting gas, and things do happen. And how do we prepare ourselves? And essentially that's where you come in.
Exactly. And I like that you mentioned people say you don't get in a situation that lets you put yourself in that. It's couldn't be further from the truth. There are things or decisions that we make that can make something more likely to happen.
Well, of course
there is, but
yeah.
Nobody deserves to be attacked. Nobody deserves to have
you go
somebody.
Grocery store.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if people were in the grocery store shopping and some knucklehead walks in with a gun and shoots a bunch of people, those people did not leave expecting to be shot at the grocery store.
Exactly. So, and I think it actually leads into a lot of the women's class we're having in a couple weeks. We've heard over time, oh well, had she not dressed like that, or had she not been in that area? I think those things are ridiculous.
How are some people supposed to dress?
Yeah.
Let me ask that question.
Right.
How are people supposed to dress? Because the people that were at the college that were shot were not dressed a certain way, one way or another. The people that were inside the police department, and the guy walks into the police department and shoots a bunch of people, those people were dressed a certain way. So
I think that we have to get away from the victim being the one that should be at fault. We're giving too much coddling to people who commit crime. We're giving too much, oh, well, their life wasn't so good and they didn't have this, and so we need to forgive them because they had.
Then the other piece of it, though,
life.
is the other piece of it, the other side of that argument is, I always come across as the bad cop. The other side of the argument is, just because somebody is in that situation doesn't make them a bad person. But then the other piece of it is, just because they are a bad person doesn't mean they deserve to die.
True.
They might make mistakes in life. We've all made mistakes in life, but that doesn't mean that we should be victim to something.
Right. And the other side of it is because that is true, but that does not, the person who's coming in now, we're talking about the attacker.
Correct.
Whatever happened in their life doesn't give them license to come invade your life and hurt you or hurt your family or someone who's near and dear to you. So we have to be prepared for those things.
And we have to protect ourselves. So how do we protect ourselves?
Well, it's not just about carrying a firearm on you. It's not just about carrying a knife on you.
Oh, you mean a weapon?
I mean a firearm. We don't. Bad guys carry weapons. Good guys carry firearms. Good guys carry firearms. We're not. We're not running around armed with weapons. We're running around with firearms, and they're there in our defense. And I know you threw that up as a softball. That's something you've been in my class. That's something we talk about a lot. As how do we talk about things? What makes us, ensure that when someone sees something that we've done, that we are not the one who's at fault here, right? We don't want to run around swearing at people, calling them weapons, and threatening people and stuff like that. We just want to have something at our disposal that can hopefully make that situation where we can protect somebody.
So, you have the ladies class. Kind of what we were talking about before we got started was, okay, well, the argument is, well, my husband will help me, or my boyfriend will help me, or I live with my brother and he'll protect me, or, well, sadly, they're not always going to be there,
right?
And B, once you're put into that situation, it's, in a sense, who's got the bigger balls, because there's been some situations that I was in where I pissed myself, and then there's been other situations where I was the dominant. I was the one who stopped the situation, you know, attempted kidnappings and so forth. So, you know, it is about the training, and it's about keeping that level head, and it is about knowing what to do and what not to do, and how to prepare yourself and be ready for those circumstances.
Right, and it's not only having that preparation, but it's knowing when and when not to use certain things, because there is an aftermath. I mean, we think a lot about, oh gosh, you know, someone's going to come breaking into this place to hurt somebody or to hurt me or my family. I'm going to pull out my firearm, I'm going to shoot him, and I'm going to be touted as a hero, and my name's going to be in the newspaper.
Do people think that way?
People do think that way. And it's funny too, because we talk about, you know, bad things happening to people. When you sit and talk to someone about, hey, these are some bad things that can happen, they'll tell you, well, you know, that kind of stuff happens to other people, right? I don't think that's ever going to happen. You talk to these same people about the lottery. Oh, it could happen. I'll buy a bunch of lottery tickets. So the good can happen, but the bad can't, right? It's our mentality.
Well, the other thing is we saw just in Sacramento the other day that the guy, the suicide, shoots his girlfriend, kills her in the driveway, and then shoots himself in the driveway. The whole thing's caught on their front door cam. And her dad comes out and says, you know, I see these things on the news. I never thought that I'd be dealing with this in real life.
Well, there's that mentality even when things are happening. You know, what this isn't happening to me, this can't be what it is, and it's something that's within our psyche that we're taught to believe.
And then what do we do?
Happening.
What do you and I do when we go into a restaurant? We always face the door. We're always ready for something to happen. My buddy Steve Adams, retired Folsom captain or chief, I think he was the police chief there. Same thing, when we go to a restaurant, it's funny because he wants to face the door, but I want to face the door. He's like, well, I'm better prepared.
That's usually the argument. And things, people just, what I think a lot of what our classes do, and you can kind of speak to this, and I know your wife can as well, is we're before we breach that, hey, we're going to pull out a firearm, because right now, most of the people that come to those first classes, that they're not concealed carry holders yet. Something they may consider in their lives. So we're teaching them ways to avoid certain situations. You mentioned, you know, people trying to do kidnappings. I think I told you the story that had happened to me in Walmart with that gal, and those kind of things are happening every day. That speaks to the, you know, this girl who approached me and asked me to kind of look after her for a few moments. I'm sure she probably had a husband or a boyfriend or something. He wasn't there in the store at the time. What good did that do her?
I was inside of a Walmart. I think it was a Walmart once.
Walmarts are sometimes sketchy places.
Very sketchy places. But I was inside of a Walmart once, and this lady goes, why are you following me? And I said, actually, I'm protecting you. These two guys have been following you. She goes, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, they've been following you for about 5 minutes now. And she peeks around the corner. She's like, oh my God, that's my ex-boyfriend. And I'm like, it's all right, I'm here. Don't worry about it. I never even got her name. I just, you know.
Well, sometimes you just got to be prepared for this. We had a situation that the other day where you know Master Crop, who I do my women's classes with. He's a Taekwondo instructor, and he's moving his studio from one side of the parking lot to the other. And we're kind of just moving things back and forth, just light work, right? And we're going to have a bigger spot. And had a guy who's what we call 5150. He's definitely mentally out there. He's throwing some things around, throwing things at people, throwing things at cars, which I know that probably bothers you more than people, because there's a couple
dogs.
Couple pretty nice cars around.
So I don't care about cars. Cars can be fixed. People are
there you go.
People, but dogs, don't mess with dogs.
Oh, no, it wasn't no dog. There was a dog. He wasn't messing with the dogs as much. He was messing around with he was messing around with people's cars. He was kind of just out there, and kind of started messing with some of the outdoor diners and one of the other establishments. And the lady had tried to approach him to like reason with him. At that point, I felt, you know, got to intervene. I went over and told her, look, this is not somebody you can reason with. This is not somebody who can tell you why they're doing what they're doing. You need to just keep your distance, and when you engage them, it incites them to go further.
Correct.
So what did I do the whole time I was there? I stood there, I watched them, I didn't say a word. Because saying a word, doing something else is going to escalate that situation.
We had a, you know, I live downtown. We had some kooky dude downtown in our parking garage, standing in a corner talking to himself. He was far out, man. He was out there.
And there's a few of them out there.
And I think it was like Christmas Eve or something. and we had just come home. We had a big bag of like candy and Christmas stuff and sodas and everything. And he looked at me, and I got kind of EBGBs.